It was a cold and stormy evening when Alan Moore, a self-made millionaire known for his vast business empire and reserved nature, stepped out of his black sedan. The rain came down in relentless sheets, turning the bustling city into a blur of lights and shadows. Alan, who had always prided himself on his logical and practical mindset, felt a sudden inexplicable tug at his heart as he noticed a frail figure huddled against the stone wall of a nearby alley. The woman was young, barely in her mid-20s, and her thin, tattered coat did little to protect her from the biting wind. Her hair clung to her face, drenched from the rain, and her shivering hands clutched a small cardboard sign that read, "Hungry and homeless, please help." Alan hesitated, torn between his instinct to walk away and a nagging sense of déjà vu that he couldn't shake. Against his usual nature, Alan approached her, crouching down to her level. "Alan, do you need help?" The woman looked up, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. She hesitated before nodding, as if unsure whether to trust the stranger. "Alan, come with me. You'll freeze to death out here," Alan offered, extending his hand. The woman, hesitant but desperate, accepted his help. They walked in silence to his waiting car, her movements slow and cautious, as though she feared the offer might be snatched away. Alan didn't press for details as his driver guided them through the rain-soaked streets to his mansion. All he knew was that this woman, with her hauntingly familiar eyes, had awakened something long buried in his heart, a feeling he thought he had lost forever. Alan ushered the young woman into his grand mansion, a sprawling estate that seemed almost too large for one man. Emilia, as she later introduced herself, hesitated at the doorway, her muddy shoes leaving faint prints on the pristine marble floor. Alan waved it off, instructing his housekeeper to fetch clean towels and dry clothes. The warmth of the house seemed to thaw Emilia's guarded demeanour, though she still cast wary glances at her surroundings. Over a hot meal, Alan tried to make conversation, learning that she had been living on the streets for nearly 2 years after losing her job and home. She spoke hesitantly, her voice low and soft, as though she were ashamed of her circumstances. Alan listened intently, his heart aching for reasons he could not fully comprehend. As the night wore on, Emilia began to relax. She asked Alan why he had helped her, and he shrugged, giving a vague answer about wanting to help someone in need. But deep down, Alan felt something stirring, an uncanny sense of familiarity he couldn't place. Her features, her expressions, even the cadence of her voice reminded him of someone, though he couldn't put his finger on it. Emilia, unaware of his internal turmoil, expressed her gratitude but insisted she couldn't stay for long. "Emilia, I don't belong here," she said, her voice tinged with sadness. Alan didn't argue, though he found himself reluctant to let her go. Instead, he offered her a temporary place to stay, promising to help her get back on her feet. Over the next few days, Emilia began settling into the guest quarters of Alan's mansion, though she remained wary of his generosity. She spent most of her time helping in the kitchen or tidying up, despite Alan's insistence that she didn't need to. Alan, in turn, found himself drawn to her presence in ways he couldn't explain. Her laughter, her mannerisms, they all triggered flashes of memories from a distant past. One morning, as Emilia helped arrange fresh flowers in the living room, Alan caught sight of a small scar on her wrist. The sight jolted him, reminding him of a similar scar his daughter Clara had from falling off her tricycle when she was 3. He dismissed the thought almost as quickly as it came, convincing himself it was mere coincidence. That evening, Alan retrieved an old photo album from his study, something he hadn't opened in years. Flipping through the pages, he paused on a picture of Clara as a toddler. The resemblance to Emilia was faint, but undeniable. Alan's heart raced as he studied the photo, wondering if his mind was playing tricks on him. Could it be possible? He shook his head, chastising himself for entertaining such wild notions. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and Alan couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Emilia than met the eye. As days turned into weeks, Emilia grew more comfortable in the mansion, though she remained tight-lipped about her past. Alan, unable to suppress his growing suspicions, began observing her closely. Her mannerisms, her laughter, and even the way she hummed an old lullaby, all of it felt eerily familiar. One evening, while Emilia was reading a book by the fireplace, Alan couldn't help but ask her about her childhood. "Alan, I don't remember much." Emilia stiffened, her fingers tightening around the book. "Emilia, I grew up in foster care. They told me my parents abandoned me when I was a toddler." Alan's breath caught, his mind racing with possibilities. Could she be Clara? And if so, how had she ended up in foster care? Alan decided to conduct a DNA test without Emilia's knowledge. He collected strands of her hair from a brush she'd left in the bathroom and sent them to a private lab. The waiting period was excruciating, each passing day adding to his anxiety. Meanwhile, Emilia began noticing Alan's strange behavior. She found him staring at her when he thought she wasn't looking, his gaze filled with something she couldn't quite decipher. Though she appreciated his kindness, she started to wonder if there was an ulterior motive behind it.